And now, time for something completely different. We're doing a tier list today, guys. We're getting all fancy. We're with the times. We're hip. These things are actually probably about 4 years past their hype date when it comes to this being like a huge internet trend. But fuck it. You know, we're all about that retro media. And we're here today to rank Camp Blood, as you gathered from that cover page. It's going to be a good time. We got the trio back together for this momentous fucking task that we have in front of us here. We're going to be covering something like, 12 movies or 11 movies. Not in depth, mind you. You know, we're saving that for our actual review series, but this will just be our general thoughts and where we would rank them on a tier list that we have devised. I just removed it from the fucking thing. This is our tier list that we have devised here. We've got awesome, pretty good, decent. Oh, you did add an extra one down there because I ranked a couple of things, or at least one, S-. It's like worse than shite, which was our lowest tier. So we've got that like purgatory tier down there, I guess, for those ones that don't even deserve a ranking, you know.
Let me see here.
There's at least one of those.
Less than shite. There you go.
I like it. It's a shame that they don't have brown for a color for the tiers. I was really bummed when I was messing around with that because it deserves it. There's films that have earned that brown tier on here and below. So, you know, without further ado, you guys ready to jump into this? You got anything you want to say to the people before we start here? A film you're particularly excited to slap a rank on today, Cody. What do you got?
I mean, not really. I'm excited to do this. We've been talking about kicking around the Sterling stuff for a while, so I'm happy to finally be diving into this. This one's going to be really fun.
What about you, Brandon? You got one that you're looking forward to ranking today? I do.
I'm kind of mad that I started out and I had them all set to where they were in order, and then it just automatically out of ordered me. But that's all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
9,
they're pretty recognizable covers. So it's like they got the clown from the movie. There's only a couple that are kind of confusing, but I trust you. And just a disclaimer here. There's movies in this series we don't like, and there's a good chance that people involved in them or people that made them are going to end up watching this. And we just want you to know this is nothing personal. You know, we all have our tastes. We're into a lot of trash. Some of this stuff is just beyond what we can accept, in our lives. And that's fine. That can happen. And it doesn't mean that we don't like your other movies, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to continue giving your stuff a chance. Most of the people involved in all of these are people that I've seen do at least some good stuff. So I know that these aren't an indication of their overall talents making these killer clown movies, but just please try not to take it personal. There are some things that might get said about some of these films today. That's just the way she goes. So I guess we got to get into it here. I don't have years written down for any of these. They pretty much came out from the early 2000s till now. I mean, that's what IMDb's for. We'll shout out the director as we pull up each film, and we'll just go from there. So our first film is, of course, Camp Blood. The first one. This one I know came out in, I think, 2000, maybe 99 on
99.
Limited Run, but it was definitely out there by the turn of the millennium, and I'm happy it was. This is probably always going to be, I think, maybe my second favorite in the whole franchise. I mean, I think it's safe to say we're all real fond of the first three, really. Do you guys have anything particular, just brief summary of your general thoughts on this you want to throw out there as we rank it, or before we rank it, rather?
I think that the Brad Sykes trilogy is amazing. It definitely gave me an interest in the series that I probably wouldn't have had if I started elsewhere. So, as far as these types of killer clown movies are concerned, though it's probably not the first, it definitely took it in that killer clown Friday the 13th combination way that I think is kind of cool and shook it up. It started it all.
Yeah, it's a pretty monumental film. What about you, Cody? You got any general thoughts on this first one you want to toss out there?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the first one I watched. I remember watching this when I worked at Hastings, which is a video store around here. Um, I remember renting it. I want to say maybe I probably rented it on VHS, and it was one of those. I know I watched. I know I watched the first two when they came out right around that time, and I want to say I don't think I knew about even future releases until the box set came out. So I mean, these were the first two that I remember watching fairly soon after they came out, because even back then I was a sucker for the clown horror movies.
Right. I don't imagine that was a even semi-recent development for you.
Right.
That's rad, man. I definitely didn't see him back then. I saw him when I got the box set, basically at your guys' encouragement. I think like almost a couple of years ago now. And boy, was I stoked on this for about 3 movies. And then there's a real rough patch that we'll get to later. But man, is this first one good? You know, it's just got a great cast for what it is. Decent practical effects executed pretty brilliantly for the budget that they're working on. It's got that charmingly bad acting you want and all this stuff. That old school SOV vibe, even though I'm pretty sure they didn't shoot it on video. And surprisingly good cinematography for what it is. That clown mask is also pretty dope. It really reminds me of when Slipknot was cool. Because it seems like something old Sean Crayola Crahan would have fucking thrown on his ugly mug to get up there and pound on those keg drums. You know,
He was around the same time.
Yep.
That's the most starting to get big.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I think he was rocking the West Germans a little bit before this movie came out, but I'm sure he took notice of it.
Right.
It does have a slight Giallo vibe at times, which I think is interesting. There's like a good black gloved sort of killer flashback during the origin story of the clown that is like very weird and dreamlike and reminiscent of shit that you would see in like some creepy Italian horror flick. It's got a sick knife fight, which a lot of these types of movies don't have. Fight choreography is sorely lacking in a lot of independent horror films, especially of this era. But they didn't spare any expense there. Any hesitation taking those risks, and I just think it's a good movie. I gave it an A+. That was my ranking of it. Awesome. If I could rank it more than awesome, I would.
So let's see. So I guess we go with, let me get that. So I also give it awesome. The way we had it ranked is that each one of these has a number, which would be like, I guess, 1 through 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then divide it by 3. And then we'll get our actual combined love of it. So we've got so far awesome. I will give it also an awesome, because it's the one that started it all. It cannot be anything but, in my opinion. What about you, Cody?
I'm not going to rock the boat. We're all in agreement on this one, and I'm sure we all figured we would be.
So 15 divided by 3. I wonder what that is.
Well, let me get my calculator.
So yes, definitely. There we go. Right.
I like that Brandon's smart enough to think of using math to make this like accurate. We had not considered that. At least I didn't. I don't think Cody did.
Me and Jake have been doing this thing for a while now, so we've been doing a lot of rankings on the channel, and this was our system for saying, okay, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Okay, no. Let's just split the difference.
We can get one where it's like you're both wrong and it just equally sucks and doesn't suck. That could happen, I imagine.
We've had times where we used to rank everything that came out and was coming out new, and there'd be times where Jake would be like right there at the bottom and I'd be at the top, because we have such different taste in movies.
Right, that is true. Well, this is fun, man. I'm already enjoying it. So moving on from that one, we are, of course, to Camp Blood 2. This, I'm pretty sure, definitely came out in the year 2000. Also directed by Brad Sykes, and also awesome. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on it are. Mine is basically, it's just more of the same with better gore, smoother execution, and a neat sort of movie within a movie gimmick that's going on there. I always enjoy that in small doses, the sort of meta thing a little bit. This only got an A, not the A+ that the first one got, because I do think the movie within a movie tomfoolery kind of does take away from the slice and dice a little bit, but they make up for it by having really tasty looking gore. Like whoever was doing the effects really figured it out from the first one to this one. And yeah, that's pretty much what I got for it. I do like how it kind of, even though it's only a year later, a lot of the scenes where stuff lines up with the first movie, they make it have this kind of like almost nostalgic feel to it, which is of course the point. You know, it's to build that like legacy and lore and everything like that. But it works surprisingly well. And great performances all around again by the cast for, you know, the level that they're working on here. Main lady yells a little bit too much, but that was a problem in the first movie, so we kind of expected it in this one. What do you guys think about Camp Blood 2? That indeed, there you go.
I don't remember that. Holy cow! Now I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I guess we'll go with you, Cody. What were your general thoughts on Camp Blood 2 when you seen it?
I didn't know Polonium was in it. That's pretty neat.
Easter egg.
Full circle considering he's done 4 or 5 of them if you count the compilation that we'll get to in a minute. But piggyback on what I said earlier, I know these are the 2 that I watched pretty soon to when they came out. It was neat. It was nice. It's kind of nice in movies like this when you actually have a character come back. Because there's always a final girl or people that survive, but usually in these movies they don't come back for the next one because it's different directors, sometimes different companies completely, and they just want to make it their own. So it's pretty neat that she was in it and kind of movie within movie. Like it's been done before. It's still an okay idea. I don't know that I really care either way. I mean, it's a way, I guess, to get her to go back to that area. So that part makes sense. But I mean, I still really like this one too. So it was a fun one for me. One of the ones that I can definitely like, the first one that I don't mind rewatching at all.
Get a lot of this OG trailer that's like not even the movie, right? Like they just shot the trailer to be a trailer.
Right.
That's like old school movie marketing. I always enjoy that.
Yeah.
Where it's like bonus footage that you didn't get in the movie. That girl got some big old cans, man. What about you, Septum Sin? What was your impression of this one when you saw it? General thoughts,
See, I'm on the other end. I don't know why, but I just love the movie within a movie thing. And if you think about it, the movie within a movie thing wasn't as overdone in the late 90s, early 2000s as it was, as it is now.
Rocking a sweet tooth mask almost.
And
yeah.
I did enjoy this one thoroughly. In my opinion, I would even rank it higher than the first. The only thing I would give more props to from the first is that it started the thing. But that's just me on it. I like them all. I mean, they're all great. The trilogy. But I don't think, I mean, really and truly, it would probably be, again, the same basic that I would say that Mo was saying, whereas I would give like Camp Blood an A, I would give Camp Blood 2 an A+. So it's not really, it's gradients at the same level, in my opinion. So I take it.
Don't get me wrong. I like the movie and the movie thing. I think it's just because the gore got better in this one. I always find myself wanting there to be more of a body count. And even though there is a pretty good body count, it just feels like they're doing that movie and the movie thing for a long time.
This one,
and it takes them a bit to really get into the grizzle of it, because they're like making also a horror comedy with the movie and a movie thing. And I like that. But, maybe if the kills were peppered out throughout the movie at more even stages, I might feel differently about it.
So let's see. So are we all agreed as far as awesome tier in this one?
Yep.
Yeah.
But also, you think about the story, like these were filmed, like I want to say first one was 99, second one was 2000. So, I mean, these were pretty rapid successions. So, I mean, there's...
And I actually submitted Camp Blood as a movie to be covered in the In Search of Darkness 90s one, because it did start in the 90s technically at the tail end. Yeah. But it still did start in the 90s. So who knows? Maybe it'll...
That would be cool.
It's well earned. I mean, it is one of the biggest indie horror franchises in existence, and surprisingly good batting average, as we were talking about in the chat earlier. I mean, a few stinkers in there doesn't take away from the fact that out of 12 movies, the majority of them are surprisingly fucking watchable. So yeah, I think my ranking on the next one is going to surprise you guys a little bit. So you guys ready to get within some woods with me right now?
All right.
Let's do it, baby. This is and forever will be Camp Blood 3 to us. I don't care what falling out happened behind the scenes. I don't care what the backstory of it is. I think it's lame that they went about like changing it and excluding it from the box set and everything like that, and going so fucking far as to shoot a film called Camp Blood 3 First Slaughter to try to act like this one never happened, because this completes the whole Brad Sykes trilogy. It brings it sort of full circle from a movie within a movie to reality TV, which is the next logical step if you're going to follow that gimmick. And they do revisit that later in Ghost of Camp Blood with like the supernatural TV host guy that we'll get to, which also makes perfect sense by that point in the series. I like this one a lot. Again, it's kind of some of the same stuff executed in very much the same way, but just with very much more polished production. My main issue with this movie is that it felt like they hired a lot of these people as like legit actors, and they didn't have that homely charm that the people did in the first two. They were all too good looking, for one thing. I mean, like, they don't look like indie movie people, most of them. They look like people that were probably on their way to Hollywood in some capacity. And their performances match up with that. It's probably the best acted movie in a lot of ways of the original trilogy. But I think it loses some of that DIY charm in the polished production and the polished performances. So I'm actually ranking it lower because it's a better movie. Because that's how we fucking roll over here, guys. But no, I really, really do like it. I like how it kind of is the one that introduces a little bit of supernatural vibes with those weird dream sequences. Or excuse me, no, that was part 2 there. This one definitely has a Fred Durst fucking name drop in it, which deserves some credit. Not a lot of movies that go out of their way to do that. And, it's got a clown on clown scene, which we didn't get until the most recent one that came out.
Oh, yeah.
All the other movies, I think it was just a singular clown running around, right? I mean, the closest we got, I guess, was First Slaughter, where that fucking weird forest yeti lady swipes his head off and just throws it down by a really nice looking bass pond. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I liked this one for all those reasons. The rad twist end, I really enjoyed as well, where Kate did it all because she was looking for fame, baby. And it worked. Fucking awesome. What are you guys' general thoughts on Within the Woods and it being excluded from the fucking franchise and just the film in general?
See, to me, it is my favorite in the entire series. But I'm a weirdo. One of my favorite Halloween movies is the one with LL Cool J when they were doing the reality TV one. And because I don't know why, but it's the one that entertains me the most out of all of them. And I am probably in the minority of the minority. So with that, I can't, I mean, to me, it just kept getting better and better. To me, the first one was amazing. The second one was even better. And then this one was even better. And I wondered where Brad Sykes was going to take it from there. Unfortunately, we never found out. And that's sad. It is sad that this one's kind of trapped in semi-obscurity. Because to me, it is so well done. It's so well polished for a micro-budget film. This is like quite amazingly done. And still to this day is when I love if I'm thinking a Camp Blood movie in the old school, I'm usually throwing this one in. So it just is one of my favorites of all time.
Did I run that Within the Woods trailer footage? I don't remember.
Yeah, you did.
I was more focused on what you guys were going
No,
to
you
say
did.
or what we were saying. That's the problem with these muted trailers is like I'll just run them and then go back to talking to you guys, and I don't realize if I've done it or not. So maybe I should delete them after I run them. That's a good idea.
So
what about you, Cody?
You put it down for good, right? Very good, pretty good.
No, I put it down as a P+, my friend. It's better than pretty good. It is. Yes, it's getting a P ranking for me. But it is important to note that it's a P+, because this is a goddamn good movie. Like it is pretty dang good, It's just held back from being as good as the first two because it loses some of that DIY charm, like I said, for the reasons I said. And because they skimped so fucking hard on the gore in this one. Like, how do you up the ante with the gore in the second one and then blow your whole wad on like fancy pre-Hollywood actors and cameras to put up in trees or whatever happened here? Because the gore just was not present. Just wasn't. I mean, I think the goriest scene is where he trips that fake clown guy and he falls on that stick and it goes through his eyeball.
You know me. I'm not as big a gore person as you guys are. So
true, but we're watching slasher movies here, bro. Like, you know, that's kind of half the point. Clowns, tits, and gore. That's what we need in these things. So it lost some points for me on this viewing with that. I will admit, the first time I watched it, I was right with you guys. Like, fuck yeah, these are epic, you know. And this one still is epic. It's just slightly less epic for me than the first two. What about you, Cody? What's your ranking for this song?
I like this one also, and I wonder if your reason for not liking it as much could be the reason why they did it in the first place. Like, you're doing a reality show, so is the point to get these pretty people, because that's usually what they flood reality shows with. And so I don't know if that was his plan going into it. I don't know if it was him trying to make a better movie or not. Well, I mean, probably the wrong word, like a more mainstream, more established, more something like that. But I mean, I would say to his credit, I mean, he made his sequels both different movies than the first one, even having the original girl in the second one. Like, he made a movie within a movie. Mm-hmm. He went the reality show thing. So I mean, at least he didn't just do cookie cutter, you know, a year later we go to the woods. And like, so, I mean, it's kudos to him for that. Like, I still put it up in the awesome thing. I will say it's probably my least favorite of the Sykes trilogy, though.
All right,
nice. So we're kind of between me and Brandon. That's good. See, that's our dynamic, though, right? I like it because it's not sleazy enough. Cody understands why it's not as sleazy, and Brandon just likes it because of the natural evolution and probably because it got less gory. And that's fine, you know?
You gotta earn your gore. If it's just straight out gore and it's not entertaining with just the gore, it's no good, in my opinion. It's gotta have more.
And Cody makes a good point. I mean, you know, this was the natural evolution of the Sykes trilogy. The second one is more comedic. It is a little bit more polished. You know, they figured out how to shoot the thing a bit smoother. They figured out how to execute the effects a bit better. They're getting better performances out of the cast, you know. I laugh out loud several times through that, like more than I do when I watch the first one. And then this one has some legitimately funny dialogue in it. I think it is the best written of the trilogy, even though, like Cody, it's probably my least favorite because it just, you know, I crave an aesthetic too. It's not just about technical, you know, prowess for me. It's also about a certain vibe. And that's why we run a schlock channel and not just a general movie thing over here, you know. So that's great. I mean, my little P+ isn't going to keep that sumbitch out of that A tier. It deserves every bit of it. Get yours.
Help us from here on out, though.
Fuck, dude. Well, I mean, I think again, my ranking for this next one, I think we might be kind of similar on this one. I don't know. We'll find out. We're going to be talking right now about the Pretender, the fucking pretender to the throne right here. This is not Camp Blood 3. This is a spin-off just like those other ones they did later on. It's Camp Blood First Slaughter. What were your thoughts when you first saw this, Cody? I know you're a big Polonia fan, probably the biggest Polonia fan of all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that box set art, the one you just showed. Like, when all that new art they did for that box set is fantastic. It's doing what it's supposed to do, making any movie look better than it possibly could be.
It's a long-standing tradition. I'm glad they kept it alive.
Yeah, it's great, and it shows like who they're catering to. They know their audience. This isn't gonna get you right in the feels and nostalgia, all that. This is easily my least favorite of the Polonia movies. There were some parts I did like, but we talked about it earlier in the day and last night. It makes you wonder what if, or was there extra circumstances preventing this from being what it could have been, or was this just exactly as it was supposed to be? There were parts of it that were kind of cool. The GoPro on the mask was an idea. I don't know that it really kind of worked out the way, I mean, it made since for now you're looking at this is how you can see from the view of the killer because they're using this camera footage. So I mean, it was definitely a different idea, but it didn't do it for me.
Did we ever determine that one night when we were like drunk on a live stream if Never Hike Alone ripped this off or if it was the other way around?
Well, if Never
I don't
Hike
remember.
Alone ripped it off, then they did a much better job.
Oh, well, yes, definitely. So, I mean, what about you, Brandon? What did you think of First Slaughter?
See, the best way of, I guess that it can be summed up in 2 words. It's I. As
Yeah,
I
feel
mean,
that.
I don't hate this one. I mean, I do think it's kind of strayed away from a lot of the practical for some more cheesy or digitally effects here that didn't look as good. But at the same end, it had that one thing that is common in a lot of Polonia films I watch, and that it drags at points. But I didn't hate it. And I didn't dislike it. I actually thought that it did what it needed to do. And it was an okay watch. And it's one that I look forward to hitting again in the future when we discuss it, just so I can sit down and just try and have a cup of coffee and make sure that my mind is clear and focused on it so I can really just dig in, because it's far from the worst film, but definitely not one I would go to if I was to think of, even in the Sterling series of after Sykes. Because I really consider all that, after the Sykes trilogy, it's the Sterling series, in my opinion.
Well, that's because that's what it is. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's not one I would pull out to watch on its own, but it's not one I think I'll be skipping. I'm with Lena on this. I've grown to love this one. You know, like I said in the chat before we were live, it's a grower, not a shower. You know, it's one of those ones that just the more I've hung around it, because I've watched it like probably 4 or 5 times now on my various attempts to get past fucking 4 and 5. And you know, I like it. I really do. It's got its flaws for sure. It gets real clunky in the second half when they go for the whole found footage thing. Like they really go full send with it. And I think that hurts the movie a little bit. But they do develop some cool techniques that Polonia used in his later Camp Blood movies that actually work out way better in those movies. And you can see them kind of field testing it in this one, which is dope. I love the whole like idea of this urban legend, like college course going out in the field to investigate this thing and getting fucked up by it. You know, it makes you think of like tales of Bigfoot hunters going missing, or like the various dudes that have tried to hunt Jason and just got fucked up for their troubles, you know? It's just cool stuff. I love the double twist at the end where, you know, haha, it was all a prank and I was involved, but no, the teacher really is crazy and she's actually been killing my classmates. That's such a cool fucking reveal at the end of this movie that I think it makes up for a lot of the clunkiness of that second half to me. And I like a lot about it, man. You know, the POV slasher gimmick is a bit clumsy, but it is interesting. It's got that Polonia flavor, and that there's various recognizable people in this that you've seen in other Polonia shit. The fucking gore is terrible. The effects are absolutely repugnant in this. Half of them are, even the ones that are good. There's one good head slice in it that they don't cover up with like gross overlaid clip show fucking blood splatter or whatever. The rest of it's trash. And the performances are pretty bad, but they're bad in that charming, like, cringy B-movie kind of way that I do enjoy. The heavy breathing from the killer gets real fucking annoying, as does the repetitive static effect that they put over it, just to remind you that it's found footage. We get it, Mark. You know, but other than that, I do really like the movie quite a bit. Every time that I've watched it, I've fallen a little bit more in love with it. And what about that dude's absolute banger of a campfire acoustic guitar song in this? Now, you guys know since way back with Cannibal Campout, I'm a fan of random musical numbers in movies where they don't belong. And this guy fucking nails it, you know? It's also got a scene where a dude flees from the killer while smoking a blunt. And I'm always going to give points for that. So I actually give this a D plus. It's not pretty good or awesome. It's kind of what Brandon said. It's far from the worst, but it's also far from the best. It's just kind of perfect middle ground camp blood shit for me. So I'll always watch this when I do a marathon. It's not one that I'll skip, but it's not one I'll pull out of the box to watch on its own.
All right.
So D plus for me. I don't know what your guys' rankings are on it.
So did you
Let's
say
go with Cody.
you said D plus or B plus?
D plus, so just a D.
So that would be
I just do the plus there
shite.
too for the principle.
See, I gave it a decent, so I guess you could say C if I was going with the letter ranking. All right, and
We
Cody.
don't follow the alphabet around here, dude. That's the business in here.
I'm gonna give it a decent, but I'm gonna say it's probably my bottom decent one, just because there's some other ones that I would rank much lower than this, and like you guys, I don't mind watching it. I won't skip it, and plus with these movies, I mean you're committing to an hour and 15, so
Right.
yeah. But it'd be on my decent, but just at the end of it.
Which one is that?
It's so
Is
cool
this-
how we keep ratioing it out at the opposite ends of the same letter, just based on slight difference in taste. It's very interesting.
That's how it works.
That's the one. Yeah. Okay.
So it's in the D. It's in the D tier for sure. Now we're moving. Oh, this is about to get rough, guys. We got to move into this thing. I don't care to know what year it came out. We know that it was directed by Dustin Ferguson, and respect to the stuff of his that I have liked, but this movie is fucking abysmal, and so is the sequel to it. I don't want to spend a ton of time ripping into this because we want to save a lot of that solid gold material for our feature length review of the much better movies that came before it, and then this one. Or actually, I think we have to do 4, 5, and 6 right in a row in that episode. So that's going to be a time for sure. I have nothing good to say about this. It sucks ass. Several times in my notes, there's a fuck with 6 U's in it. Because I couldn't. I was like, oh my God, this thing just drags and goes nowhere. There's one cool part at the beginning of the movie where there's a newscast and they do an ode to Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever. But the rest of it is a girl walks all the way through town to casually browse every section of a fucking local thrift shop. And then it cuts from that to a montage of girls putting on hair and makeup. And then I'm pretty sure right after that, the clown walks around for a while, And then when they're not walking, they're driving, which is slightly more stimulating. The movie really doesn't even attempt to do anything until the 35-minute mark when it shows you 8 minutes of uninterrupted footage from the previous movie. And then you don't see anything of substance again until, the 54-minute mark. And then it walks some more. The clown kills some people and walks around some more. I don't know. Are you guys got any thoughts on this? I mean, I have nothing, man. The killer reveal is so fucking cringe. I hate it.
So would you consider it shite or less than shite?
It got an S- from me.
So the very bottom.
So, all right. Well, I will say this. It's not my least favorite of the films. Now that one's coming up very shortly. But I was an angry Asian murder hornets. This is not. This is. I feel like there was more of a movie there, and there are a couple of things that could have made me look at this as a low decent. I think the first time I watched this, I've watched this twice, and the first time I watched it, I think it was more because I still was really into Cool Duder at the time. Because, I was watching his collection videos, and I was like, ooh, cool, he's in something. So that brought it up a little bit for me. And I was kind of digging the overall story of it. I just thought it had a lot of potential. But then I got to the end, and I couldn't see any of the action at the end. And that was when the most action was. It was filmed in this dark camp area where you can barely see anybody moving around. So you're just sitting there blind for most of the movie, thinking that there might. It's like that game that you went to the scrambled channels to try and catch a little bit of the porno. You're like, maybe that's something there. That was how the end was for me.
I do need to watch it in high definition, which I believe Dustin Ferguson recommended that I do. Is that if I watch it in the Blu-ray on a high definition
Dude,
TV,
I watched this in a Blu-ray on like a fucking whatever KTV my brother paid way too much money for upstairs, and you still can't see shit.
Okay, so
I don't know what
still-
that dude's talking about. That's
So-
fucking straight up, just absolute. What are you doing, man? You can't
So
see anything at the end of this movie.
I can't give it less than shite for me. It would have to be but I can't give it decent either. So I would give it a shite because I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen of the Camp Blood, but I can't give it. It's not a good film.
Not at all, dude. I'm struggling, honestly. I respect your opinions, but I am struggling to see what potential you see in this thing because it doesn't
like I
really
said,
go anywhere. It's like,
the
oh, my
story-
boyfriend was upset, so he went full incel, I guess, is the storyline, which
Story
could be
has some
explored in
interest
an
in me.
interesting way. What's that?
I mean, I did want to see more what was going on with the guy that Cool Duder played and the girl and all that stuff. And then it went nowhere. So but like I say, there's potential for something good there. I think. All right, Cody, give it the awesome rating. Tell us why it's the best Camp Blood.
I'm going to kind of almost echo what you said. Like, the only reason why I'm not going to rank this one as low is because of there's something else coming up that will definitely earn that. The only difference between that one and this one is at least this had more original footage, but it is 100% padding, and you got sprinkled in occasional storyline, and then you get to the camp, and then it's just kind of like slow motion chase scenes, and it like kind of like Mo said, like there's, I went into it trying to benefit of the doubt, and I'll give it a shot, but it just
Performance of the cast sucks ass. All the kills are lame. They don't even try to make them look cool. I mean,
I'm gonna just do something different here. I'm gonna actually hover it.
I don't even think it's the cast's fault. I think they knew they were shooting filler is the problem. You know?
Where would you put it, Cody, on these two here?
It's going to be on shite just because I can't say it's the worst one.
So,
what a shit on top of a shit is still a shit. That's what this is proving right now.
Let me see how that ranks, but I'm pretty sure I know exactly how it's going. Yep, it still ranks here, but
we know where the next one's going.
Is, oh, good Lord!
You guys ready to rip this fucking Band-Aid off or what? Let's do it. I mean, the coolest thing about it is the fucking poster and the fact that she watches a different movie halfway through the thing. And that is Camp Blood Part 5. I don't even think that has a subtitle because who gives a shit? I'm going to just let you guys go first. I need to wait a minute.
I wanted to know, I've actually spoken with the director on this once. And but I've also heard a different story as well from other people. So instead of that, I'm going to say I wonder if somebody watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 and thought, this is a great idea. I don't even have to make the full film. I just need to shoot a half hour of original material, and then I just chop up the original film, put them together, and I have a full runtime of a film. Now, there are other things like the whole story of, well, I was forced to do it this way, or they didn't give me enough film, or there wasn't enough money. And those could be potential pieces of the puzzle. It doesn't excuse the last one. But,
we could go out with no money and shoot a better Camp Blood movie than this. We just need a camera that looks even remotely close to the ones they did the first two on. I mean, and I think we'd be fine. Cody's kid could shoot a better Camp Blood movie than this. This was thrown together out of stock footage and walking scenes. And that's it. We're not trying to throw any shade on anybody personally here. People make bad movies sometimes. But this feels like it was intentionally lazy, both of these films. It was just done to fill up the fucking, well, I don't think they use reels of film anymore, but you guys know what I'm saying. They were shooting for runtime and to get it just done. It doesn't feel like inspired. All the kills again are whack. I'll let Cody go before I say anything else.
Yeah, there's no other way to call it than just kind of laziness. I mean, there's a scene where a character sat on the couch to watch a movie and you see several minutes of that movie playing and not like snippets of it, and they go back to like a conversation. Like this movie's
That's part of
playing.
the film.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, when it finally attempts to get going at the end, where she like recruits her buddies to go, let's go find the clown. Like they go to like a tree and find the clown in like 4 seconds. Like he's just out there just hanging out waiting for him. So I mean, if there's anything that may have been something cool, was just maybe the turn at the very end, but
Yeah.
Thank God they didn't go with that and make the same person do part 6.
I'd have been out. I would have tapped the fuck out, dude. I would not be in this conversation right now, I think. And that takes a lot for me. You guys have seen me watch other abysmal movies, but not on the level of these things. I mean, there's at least some charm to some of those. I'll just read you. It's real brief, but I'll read you guys my exact notes for Camp Blood 5 because I think this sums up perfectly my S minus rating for this thing. Okay, here it goes. This is the first line. At least this one has full frontal nudity. Followed, of course, by walking montage and costume shop browsing. Cool Duder is there. At some point, they watch Things. Then they watch Meat Hook Massacre, because why the fuck not? Fuck this movie. After all the filler, we get more filler, and then the girl explains the entire previous film to her therapist. 56 fucking minutes into this thing, the movie sort of tries to get going somewhere. Spoiler alert, it fails. That's my exact notes that I took down while watching this. Dude.
I love it.
It's the worst, dude. It might be the worst indie horror movie I've ever watched. Just because it's so frustratingly, it moves like molasses. And nothing fucking happens, He just puts it in there casually. We don't even have to do the math.
I don't think that doesn't sound like anybody's getting any high ranking. I don't think it's entirely irredeemable, but I don't think it's. But there's not enough good there to pull it out of the pit, in my opinion. That last, as Cody said, that last bit, it looked like it tried. But I swear the movie is trying its best to tell you there are better movies out there to watch. Here's some examples. And here, watch Things. Watch.
Yeah, we're all very. We give all these kind of movies a chance. I know I am. I'm pretty sure with you guys, like I'm a benefit of the doubt guy. I try to look at, was it they didn't have a chance or outside circumstances, or with these. I don't watch commentaries for big budget movies. I love commentaries on these movies because these are guys that they're in the nitty gritty of it. You watch Spielberg do a commentary, like he wasn't there, working with doing as much hands-on. Like I know he's hands-on, but he has like hundreds of people that do all this stuff for him. Like these people are here, like, in the trenches doing it. So I can only think of one for sure of these movies that has a commentary track, and I think that's a shame because even though I don't think this one would have benefited from it, I still would have liked to have listened to it.
Who knows, man? It's not outside the realm of possibility we couldn't get together with some of these directors and record audio commentary with them,
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Seaver's basically done it for his movies with making a crapster piece. It can happen,
right?
I go ahead. Sorry, man.
I wouldn't, if I was going to pick one to get commentary, it wouldn't be 4 or 5 though. Because I don't think that
I kind of want them just because I want to hear what kind of web he would try to weave with it,
If you put me on there with them, it would be like you hear a snoring halfway through the film. I'd be asleep.
I can only imagine he would record the commentary while power walking. Because that's what the fuck these movies are. It's a gigantic power walking session. The second one basically just gives up and ends because it's exhausted from all the fucking walking. I mean, that's still a good joke, even though I repeated it from our fucking group chat because it's so accurate.
We need to do the commentary, and you're walking the whole time. I'm browsing shops, and Septum Sin is watching another movie while he's talking about it.
I'm back there just heavy breathing like that dude from fucking First Slaughter. That's
Well, at least there's a redemption arc after this.
See, that's the thing. Okay, this series at this point, we're done shitting on it because it gets good after this. You know, First Slaughter is kind of like that shoe you trip on at the top of the stairs, where you don't hate it. You're just angry that it was there in the way that it was, you know. And then part 4 and part 5 is you falling down the fucking stairs. And then part 6 is you getting up relieved that nothing was broken. And that's where we arrive right now, is at part 6, the soft landing, aka the resurrection of this motherfucker. Because if it wasn't for this movie, I would not have continued watching these. It is absolutely everything it needed to be to save this series and put it back on the right track. I'm going to let you lead it off again, Cody, with your general thoughts on old Camp Blood 666.
I know I skipped 4 and 5, but I mean, also great cover art, the box set art. This one also is very cool, and I like that they went in a very different direction with this one. I've talked to the directors. This one, he told me that I own the only thing that he remembers ever autographing, which is pretty cool. But this movie is I think if it wasn't his first movie he ever did, it was his second. So, I mean, very early on in doing it, I feel like he knew what he was doing. He took some cool chances, doing the exorcism thing was cool. Like, they started the movie off like that. It wasn't just that in title only. The little cool marking on the clown's mask was really cool. Like, I really enjoyed this movie.
So where would you put this? I'm gonna hover it. Cody, you tell me where it goes.
Oh, my bad. I didn't click off the fucking poster, guys.
Oh, sorry.
I got it in the pretty good stage.
So far, pretty good. All right.
Yeah, it's a P+ for me. Pretty good as well.
1, 2, 3.
Did you share your thoughts on it at all, Brandon?
No, but I will say best mask in the series, in my opinion. To me, it is my favorite Sterling Camp Blood. And maybe disagreement, but I consider it the best of the Sterling era Camp Blood films. To me, they don't get
contender for me too.
They don't get any better than this one for me. I can't rank any of them higher. Sorry, Cody. Maybe 9 will.
You mean this one?
Hit. But exactly that mask in particular. But I do think that.
Dude. Yes.
I do think that this one was great. I loved where the story went with it. I love the supernatural angle. It was kind of like the Friday the 13th Part 5 of the series, where they were thinking about going in a new direction. They were putting it out. Was it 5 or was it? No, it was 6. No.
7 is the one where he really. Well, 6 is the one where he becomes undead Jason. You know,
because it was sort of where they just went in a totally new direction. I love the idea of the mask possession deal, and they kind of go with it for one more movie, but then they kind of drop it and run away, which is sad. I really did find this one just in general fun. It was just, to me, it's actually I actually have it higher ranked than y'all. I actually put it in awesome. I put it right up there with the Sykes trilogy.
If I would have put another one in that category, which, spoiler alert, it would have been this one for sure.
Yeah, it's, it almost went in, man, for me too. That's why it got a P+ for me, because I do like the cool occult supernatural angle coming into it. Again, it kind of harkens back to part 2 with like the weird supernatural zombie dream sequence thing. I really like that it is, as you said, kind of like to me, it's like equal parts, Friday the 13th, part 6 and 7, because 7 introduces fucking superpowers and stuff like that. And this just kind of rolled part 6 and 7 into one thing and made the clown like this supernatural satanic possession situation here. And he had like badass fucking Raiden powers where he could just shock people with the shit and make them do what he wanted.
I think without this
Go
one,
ahead.
I probably would have stopped after 4 and 5. I would have stopped if it hadn't been as good as it was for this.
Yeah,
for
three
sure.
bad ones in a row. I don't blame you. I think we're all kind of would have been in that spot. That's kind of hard to get past.
2 bad ones and a decent one. Okay. That's what happened. We did it with math, man.
Sorry.
And honestly, it's got another great soundtrack by Ghost, who, to my knowledge, did the soundtrack for all of these, right? I don't know who that is, but it's good stuff.
Was this Dennis Devine that did the direction for this one?
No, this was a Ted Mowering.
Ted Mowering. Okay, so again, great director. I wish I could have seen him direct more of these.
The Mask is awesome. I did put that in my notes. It passes the body count of the previous film. I think both the previous films in like the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Probably.
You've already passed the body count of it, so it definitely destroys it with the body count. It's got George fucking Stover in it, which is worth pointing out. It's got enjoyable characters. They might not all be the greatest actors, but it strikes a balance between good acting and then like people that are enjoyably campy, which is nice. It's not just a mall chicks like it was in the last 2 movies. And then, it's got pretty solid writing too. There's some cleverly written stuff here, some of which is delivered very badly by some of the less talented actors, but the writing itself is clever and fun. And I thought that was cool. It's kind of the return of actual humor to the thing, not whatever was trying to happen at certain points in the last 2 movies. Bad camera work though, shaky as fuck. That DP needs to drink less coffee or get a steady cam going. Something needs to happen there, because man, once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. In 666, that camera is shaking the entire time. Other than that, loved it. Very narrowly outside of awesome for me though, because of some of those things.
I agree. I think if I were to think about it a little bit more, I probably would change it, but I'm going to stick with what I had.
And that's fine, Opinions evolve.
We finally have a pretty good, so hey, that's how it goes.
All the categories are covered now.
So next up here, wait a minute. Where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
It
6,
kills.
7. Yeah, so are we at It Kills?
It kills.
Because I was unsure where that fit in the fucking rotation there. So that comes between 7 and actual part 8 in Ghost of Camp Blood, right?
Can I start us off for this one?
Sure, you can. I know you were insistent on us including it, so please explain.
Oh,
shit. Whoops. My bad, folks.
How embarrassing.
There we go.
Camp Blood. Actually, there is one before that. 7 is before that because there are kills from It Kills in 7.
Okay, so stop fucking with my rotation here, boys. So we're on part 7 then, right?
Yes.
So
I thought so.
I think that the pseudonym title was It Kills for 7.
Yeah.
And it kind of kept confusing with Kills.
But you can still buy it that way, I think, with that cover art, if I remember right.
And it's the most common cover art that pops up too when you're frustratingly trying to look for covers for these things. It's
right.
I mean, it actually sort of follows along with the whole stuff from 666, but sort of not at the same time. But this is, I believe, second Polonia effort, and a much better one at that. It was my introduction to Kyle Rappaport, for better for worse.
Fuck yes, and it's a good one too.
And it is a good introduction. I still say it's one of his best roles.
I think it might be his best that I've seen. Anyways.
It's pretty close for sure.
I mean, he did an amazing job with it. I really thought it was cool. I liked the twist in the end. Polonia definitely watched 666 and ran with a couple of those ideas. I thought it was very good. Not as good as 666 for me, but a solid, pretty good as far as I'm concerned. I'm just putting it where we hover at, so it reminds me of what number to put in. So yeah, not the best of the best. It's not Sykes level for me, but definitely it is one of the better ones, to be sure.
Agreed. Cody, what about you? What do you got on part 7?
Yeah. Well, going back to last, I think with the box set cover art, I think that one is my favorite. And I think even the little tagline, "The Hot Girls Camping, Watch Out," is pretty funny. Because I don't know, I just think it's funny.
It is.
But this is easily my favorite of the Polonia movies. This movie actually has a spot where it takes place at a camp, like with cabins and stuff, which we may not necessarily were cabins, but
took them 8 fucking movies, right,
Yeah.
to get to this point where we have an actual building in the fucking camp.
Yeah.
I mean, in 666 they had a piece of rubble that they pretended was a camp building, but in this one, Polonia, well, I guess First Slaughter had some buildings, but they weren't established as the camp. Where in this one, they're pretending that they're like abandoned camp buildings. I'm sorry. Continue what you're saying.
That's all right. Yeah, easily my favorite. This one's got mostly the A-list of the Polonia people. I mean, you got Kirkendall, you got Kyle, and this one's probably one of my favorites of his as well. You got Jamie Morgan, you got Titus Himmelberger. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but there's
a lot of them in this one.
A lot, yeah. It's got a lot of the good ones. It takes place has a camp and a cabins, and it's gives you even more of the kind of stereotypical campers. Even though, I really like this one. This one is, I would put it just below 666. Still a solid, pretty good, but not quite the top of it.
See, that's where we differ a bit. I mean, 666 also kind of did leave a little bit to be desired with the gore, as I believe I mentioned. But it was a much fucking better movie than the last two, so I didn't feel the need to really complain about that. But it did factor into my ranking, because we come to these for gore and cool kills and fun stuff, And when a certain element that's lacking, I have a hard time ranking it as high as it could be if it had it. It's also, this one has the second best tits in the franchise. All right, yeah. Verified. I examined all of them personally as I was watching them. The first movie, I think, might have the best tits, but then later on, there's a girl with like these really big pierced knockers that are pretty nice to look at. I mean, let's be honest, we're all dudes. We watch slasher movies. Everybody that watches fucking slasher movies is looking for tits and ass, I think. Even the women. I mean, it's a staple of the genre. Even people like, that lady that did Slumber Party Massacre threw it in there. Maybe just to appease the guys, whatever. I don't think there's any harm in enjoying a good pair of boobs. And I'm not going to let go of that tradition anytime soon. It's got solid practical effects that were better than Part 6, obviously. Polonia fully redeems himself on this for First Slaughter, in my opinion. No question about it. And then in the subsequent ones, he does, not better than this, but still really fucking fun movies. It's got all those familiar Polonia faces, like Cody mentioned. Ghost brings it yet again with another dope soundtrack for this one. Sounds very Phantasm-esque at different points. I'm pretty sure they were ripping off the actual Phantasm riff, but that's fine. I'm totally cool with it. It's got solid performances from the cast, much better than First Slaughter. So you could tell that Polonia was demanding a little bit more out of these guys when he was making this movie. He wasn't just shooting and getting the take and moving on.
Well, and you can also tell, not to cut you off, but like these are some of the people in this movie. I don't know if he'd used before that much, or if it was just right around this time. Like this is like him finding his people, because a lot of these people that you see them in several movies to come, and if this wasn't their first movie as well, I'd say it was pretty soon. So it was, I don't know,
him finding the crew,
like how Mark got his groove back almost.
Yeah, because you see this crew a lot. So yeah.
And the modern ones for sure. I mean, Polonia, I don't think ever really had a crew other than John McBride back in the day.
Pretty much, yeah. Him and the two brothers.
What else is in here? That there is a particularly sinister performance by the clown in Part 7. I think it's the scariest that the clown is in the entire series. And I think that's largely due to the fact that the clown mask has fucking eyeballs in this one, right? Am I mistaken, or is it the first one where the mask actually has eyeballs?
It's the first one, I'm pretty sure. Unless it's one of those throwaway ones in one of the first couple movies.
Like it's really hard, I would imagine, for an actor to get into trying to be sinister in a goofy plastic fucking like department store clown mask, which is, much as we love these masks, that kind of is what they are.
No.
You know, they're like a maybe slightly mid-tier fucking Halloween mask at best, you know,
Right.
which is what makes them cool again. But I mean, when you can see your full fucking eye socket behind the mask, you don't have the opportunity to hide your face while you're like trying to physically emote and do the Kane Hodder thing.
Mhm.
And this one, the fucking clown has the luxury of being fully hidden behind the mask. So whoever is playing it, probably multiple people, were able to really get into the fucking groove of like being mean and aggressive and clownish. I guess I don't know what the fuck you would
For
call
the
it, but
for the most part, it was the same guy from Return to Splatter Farm. Kept calling that guy Jocko, like the mechanic guy or something like that. It was him for the most part because what's not on these, but they're still great to watch. Kyle does very good vlogs on his out around the town thing, and he's got a good shoot. I want to say 45 minutes to an hour where you can see a lot of behind the scenes footage from this movie.
right on. He did amazing in this, man. Again, I think it's my favorite performance of his.
I put
I
it
think
this
that Jamie Morgan
and
also
Renfield
crushed it.
are my two, like him and Sharkula for different reasons. So they're
Oh yeah.
polar
My
opposites, but I
favorite-
enjoy them just the same.
One of my favorite Kirkendall performances too. Though
Yeah, he's
with
pretty
the
great in it.
exception Of, I just say Sharkula, which is weird because Sharkula as a movie overall is a much worse movie. But I do think that performance-wise, it's probably one of their best performances on those two scales.
Oh, dude,
I
that's
agree.
all it takes, right? Like movies that are technically worse movies can be easily saved by a couple of really good performances, and I think Camp Blood 8 is a fucking perfect example of that, which we'll get there in a minute. But man, yeah, I was really impressed by Kyle in this, legitimately, not just because he's our friend. I was like, God damn, I didn't know he had like that kind of a performance
Well,
in him. You know,
with me, I watched it before I knew him, so I mean, I
kind of
had-
wish that I had.
was
you know?
lucky in that. I don't think your opinion would have changed. I really don't.
It's
and that-
great,
I'm-
and
I
Jamie
mean that in
Morgan's
a
like
good-
peak. Go ahead, sorry.
I mean that in a good way. Like I don't think you would have thought any different of it. Maybe you would appreciate it maybe a little more just because it's somebody you like. But I mean, it was.
Nah, I probably appreciate it less because I know Kyle. To be honest. No, I love you, buddy. It's all in good fun.
You know, we've told him, we've sang his praises. He
We
knows we
love
like
you,
this
dude.
movie.
Yeah, it's amazing that Jamie Morgan again peak adorableness in this thing. I think she's always fucking adorable, man. Her and Mel Heflin, I think, are those two like B movie scream queens that I don't necessarily. It's not like a lustful thing. I would just really like to like buy them a beer and give them a hug. Like a nice friend hug, like one arm around the
Like the buddies
those,
hug.
Yeah, not like a fucking weirdo hug. Because I
will,
just love them. Every time I see them in something, they're delightful. They look like they're having the most fun in the world when they're doing it. And that sells me on it. I mean, Jamie's performances aren't always flawless. I think this is one of her better ones. I think she gives a real good one in fucking Ghosts of Camp Blood.
I think it's one of her early ones too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, we've sang her praises on the show before because she's just a rad person to watch, like have fun making these movies. And Mel Heflin, I'm looking forward to seeing more of her stuff. Every time she's shown up in something, I've enjoyed her. Just a rad lady, it seems like. Sadly, she gets strangled with intestines, which is maybe the most brutal kill in the entire franchise, I think.
It's cool though.
It sure is cool. The clown likes to chop hands off a lot in this one too, and fuck people with that machete. Like he never just stabs them. Like he stabs them and then he goes like he just fucking prison shanks them. And I think that that's a nice touch. I don't know who came up with that, but kudos, sir. So yeah, we into Camp Blood kills now. Is that where we're at? Brandon, you had a thing you wanted.
Are we all pretty good on that one?
I think so. I mean, for me, that goes an A tier. I don't think we gave our rankings fully, but that's an A tier one for me.
I mean, 6 and 7 are right up there where I could easily, on a different day, it could be in the awesome thing. Like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 definitely beat out 6 for me. It is just, that's one I'll be pulling out on its own. I'll pull out 6 too on its own to watch it, but 7 and 8 will be more frequent solo pulls for me than 6. So what did you? Our math landed it and pretty good. You guys both gave it a pretty good, huh?
Yeah, because there was at least 2 pretty good scores, so it got in there.
I got your back, Kyle. You know, you too, Jamie. So yeah, let's move on to that Camp Blood Kills, man. Share your thoughts on that a little bit.
So remember you were talking about like reason for coming to these was the kills and the gore. Well, this is a movie with only the kills and only the gore. Not just with Camp Blood movies, but with Axe Grinder, and for some weird reason,
The Occultist.
The Occultist, which I still don't quite. I guess didn't have quite enough kills
Maybe.
to throw in there. I only thought about bringing it up because I actually have a special mention in it, which is kind of cool. It's my first time. My name has been associated with Camp Blood, I think 3 times. This is one of them, and then the other one is with 8, and the other one was with Children of Camp Blood. So, you know, but and I think the only one that I actually have any like front credits is 8, which is funny because this is the only one I think I'm credited for.
Still cool.
But yeah, you know, this is that whole idea is like, is the kills, if it's a movie that's just the kills and the gore, does that make it a good film? I say no. I don't say it's a bad film. I think it's a fun watch. I think it's a novelty more than it is a movie. So I can't put it in shite because I don't think it's bad. I think it's a fun watch every once in a while, but it's more of a party favor to me than a film. So to me, it's just kind of the decent level as far as that's concerned. But I do love the cover. The cover is freaking amazing.
You're on mute, Mo.
It's rad. I gave it a D- simply because it's not only Camp Blood stuff. Like that really bugs me that
It's very odd.
We've padded the shit with fucking filler so much at this point that they're still padding like a clip show of the series with filler. Why? And you know the reason why is because all the kills are dog shit in part 4 and 5. So they needed other movies to fill in the gaps where those movies should have been able to shine, but they can't because every kill in them is lazy as fuck. You're not going to put any of those in a clip show. It's just ridiculous.
Even with this one, is it only the first Axe Grinder at the time, or is 1 and 2?
Just the first one.
Okay.
Because 2 and 3 came out around the same time, and it was just...
I thought it was just the first one, but I wasn't sure. I kind of put it in the same spot. Like it's decent for me. It's one of those, it's almost, if you want to just throw something on like as background noise or whatever, it's
a good party favor movie.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things. It's like a documentary where if I've watched it before and I don't really want to, I kind of want to just zone out to something or be doing something else. It's not a bad choice. So it's just a decent one for me.
It's like any of those old school trailer-thons that you can get on disc or like our midnight movie mixtapes. I don't think anyone really listens to a lot of those. No, we get good interaction on them when we've done them. But it's, you know, it's stuff you just throw on as background noise and background imagery, like Puppet Master Legacy or all those other fucking clip shows that Puppet Master has done. Or I mean, Full Moon has done. At least they kind of take them and try to turn them into anthologies a lot of the time anyway.
It's still kind of sad because I think about it. It's like it's kind of just a party favorite, but I still rather watch it than 4 and 5.
Easily.
Any day of the week, dude. Honestly, I'm considering exiling 4 and 5 from the box.
What's funny is when you were thinking that, you were saying that, I was thinking it. I was like, you know what? The box I could fit some stuff in that box and it can still be full.
We could fit what's out right now in it, finally, if we got rid of fucking 4 and 5, dude.
True.
Because there's literally no reason to watch those ever again after you've watched them once.
Could you imagine what idiot would pay money to have those 2 masks from that movie?
I wonder.
I can. I sure can.
That guy should be part of a show.
Yeah, he should, give his opinion on B movies. I'd like to hear him. No, I don't blame you, man. The masks are fine. That's the thing. I mean, like the masks, again, we didn't really even give them credit when we were talking about it.
Four's pretty neat. it's the same one from 3. I don't. Well, I think it's a different mask, but it's the same. 5's kind of just,
Yeah.
I don't know, generic, pretty much. But I mean, I would
Right.
say so far my favorites are. I mean, we could even talk about this later, but I would say 666 and 7. And with 7, you see a similar mask kind of throughout the franchise. After that, that's kind of their go-to one with some slight changes.
Right. And I mean, they have a much better home with you than the people that made those fucking abominations. Let's just put it that way. You'll at least take care of them and love them and appreciate them and maybe let your kid use them in a movie that's much better one day. That's my hope for them, at least. So I guess we're done with kills. Yeah. I mean, where did it end up in here?
Decent. I don't think anybody. I think you're the only one who
I'll
gave
give
it
it that.
anything different. Because you gave it like one below that, but that was
I just gave it a D- just because of the fact that it's the plus or minus ratio here. I think is a good way for us to illustrate a point. I do think it's decent, but I think it's whack that they had to substitute so much footage for shit that isn't in the franchise.
Though it did do something because it introduced me to the Axe Grinder series, so I think that was a plus.
Which Axe Grinder 1 is fantastic. And if you don't know much about it, watch our very first video we ever did.
Mm-hmm. We sprung from the seed of the mullet on this channel. Right from the fucking mullet root, dude. That's where we came.
And we will go back as many times as we can.
Yeah.
That's a well that never stops.
We're like army ants, dude. We come out and we accumulate B-movie knowledge, and then we carry our body's weight in brute cologne back to the fucking mullet, and that's how we stay in David's good graces. And hopefully we can keep that going. The best mullet on the scene. Let me say that. I don't know another B-movie maestro that has such a sweet mullet or rocks a Fila tracksuit quite like David Stern.
And I don't want to know another one.
Yeah, ever. So we're on to, what is it? Ghost of Camp Blood now, right? No, wait, we're on to
no, we're on Ghost.
Ghost. Okay. Kills really, see, the sequence of this fucking series is like solving a Rubik's Cube when you're doing it for the first time.
It was Camp Blood 8 for a little while. I think I used to have a cover of one that actually have Camp Blood 8 on it. But then Sterling,
it is, as far as I'm concerned, man. It really is, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it picks up pretty much with the same gimmick that was going on in the previous films. I mean, 7 didn't focus on the supernatural stuff, but it was pretty clear that there was weirdness going on, and I think it really bridges the gap between Part 6 and the Polonia stuff pretty good. I mean, it adds in this whole like rad Scooby-Doo ghost hunters vibe that's going on the whole time that I really like. You get some of those Polonia faces that we saw in like weird stock footage in the previous movies, like that big bald guy that's in some of his stuff. We get him in like a more active role. We get even more Jamie Morgan, which is not a bad thing.
He is the bald guy, not to cut you off. He's the clown in First Slaughter.
Very cool. Well, he's not a clown, or he's the clown that is in the movie for like 30 seconds.
No, he's like he actually has the GoPro mask.
All right. Well, I mean, Cody, I shouldn't have to explain this to you of all people, but that is not a clown, brother.
It's a clown franchise. Leave me alone.
I love you, buddy.
It's a meth clown.
It's some type of weird, like, chop shop fucking forest yeti. I don't know what's going on there. It's like in a mechanic's outfit, but it looks like it's got like yeti hairs on the back of its head. Yeah. When you first watch it, you're not sure if it's meant to be some kind of a deformed sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre mongoloid, or like, you know what I mean? Like one of those people from that X-Files episode Home. But then it turns out it's just like a pretty hot teacher under there, which is, I like it. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, man, I mean, this, it brings in all those Polonia regulars that we didn't get to see in the previous movies, or at least see as much of them. The ghost hunting stuff is fun, like I said. It also has like a Jason Goes to Hell sort of, I don't know if it's Jason Goes to, it kind of is a Jason Goes to Hell vibe, right? Like with the clown possessing people a little bit. The clown performance is goofy as fuck when he's the clown, though.
Yeah.
And that I don't like. You know, that brings it down a notch for me as well. I do enjoy this one, but for me, I got to give it a D+. It's just under the pretty good category. Like, it might as well be pretty good, but there's a couple of things in it that I'm like, eh. But that being said, I think it might be one of the, next to Part 8, it might be one of the funnest ones to probably just throw on in mixed company, because it's got lots of cool stuff to laugh at. And the people seem like they had a ton of fun making it. I'm not sure what the circumstances are, and as Cody said, without commentary tracks, we'll probably never know. But it does feel like they just made it at a school that Mark works at or something.
I don't know why, other than maybe weird whim that Sterling had to change it, to take it outside of the series and make it a spinoff type thing. I don't know. But to me, it was a good film. I liked it. I like that they tried to do something different. It's slower than the others in a lot of ways, but I'm kind of used to that with some of the Poloni films I've seen. But overall, it's still one of my favorites. Not favorite enough to put it up an awesome category, but I would definitely. I mean, I would rank it below 7, but above the 2 and decent. So I'd probably end
That's
up
kind of,
giving
yeah.
a low pretty good for me, but that's just there. Like I said, there's something about it. I like the concepts, and I feel like it's nailed pretty well.
I feel like the slowness works for Ghost of Camp Blood as well. It gives it that fun, like it really does. Again, my lower rating of it shouldn't indicate how enjoyable it is or whatever. I think that, you know, it has some flaws, it has some areas it could have done better, but man, again, is it like a fun movie to watch? I think outside of Part 8, it's probably one of the funnest ones to just chuck on if you just want something to chuck on and like giggle at. It's got this like not slow burn, but like intimate workplace hijinks vibe to it, you know, because of the fact that they are clearly shooting it like wherever Mark works, you know, and just running around the different conference rooms and things like that. And while the movie might not visually be a huge spectacle or whatever, it is pretty fucking fun in the way they handle the ghost hunting stuff and the way that the workplace hijinks vibe comes across. So I think that it works for what it is. It is confidently a D+ movie for me, and that's pretty awesome. That's passing grade, man. You know, D+, baby. That'll get you a diploma. You get enough of those going.
Well, Cody, it looks like you might be the one to decide whether it goes into one or the other at this point, because it's been below and it's been above. Well, not above.
I don't think I hold this one as high as you guys do. The like torture dream sequence in the garage,
that's
really don't like it. I feel like this was almost something they did afterwards, which wouldn't surprise me, to add an extra 10 minutes. Like that part of it just feels like it's a completely different movie. It doesn't even feel like anything that Poloni would ever really do.
It feels way too torture pornish for Poloni.
It's very odd. It almost makes me wonder if this was supposed to be for a different movie. I don't remember it too well, if it was the same mask used in Ghost or not, which is, you know, the first Slaughter and Camp Blood 4 mask just kind of markered up to where some of the little triangles look different colors.
I think they recycle it in Children, don't they? Like that, and they make it look like all snuff filmish or something.
Children's a brand new mask. They haven't used.
No, I'm talking about that footage from that.
Oh, I got you. Okay, yeah, I don't. For some reason, like that, just completely took me out of the movie. The clown stuff was funny. Like you can tell, Jamie is the clown in a lot of those scenes. There's parts of it. There's a really funny YouTube video about this movie that's pretty good. Which also the Bad Movies Attack. Shout out to that guy. He did Camp Blood 1, 2, First Slaughter, and Camp Blood 4 reviews that I know I've sent to you guys that are really, really funny. But this one, it's just okay. Like they tried some stuff. I really, really like this cover art. I think it looks awesome. The little 2 axes and everything are great.
I know Brandon has sang the praises of this in the past too, and
It's
put
all
it
right.
down there. And
I'm probably
that
going to be
B tier.
breaking hearts later.
Listen, I didn't know Jamie was in the clown suit, and
You
to be
can-
honest, I'm still gonna fucking hate on it because it takes me out of it in some of those sequences where the clown is acting like kind of goofy.
You can tell
and
when
maybe
once knowing that now, you'll be able to point it out.
Yeah.
it doesn't help that 7 comes right before it too, where the clown is acting so like intimidating. I mean, unless you count kills, which I don't. You know, when you watch 7 right before this one, it's like, damn, the clown was awesome in that. And then you go from that to this. But it is in my notes that while the clown performance is goofy sometimes, the clown is funny, which might be the first Camp Blood movie where the clown is funny. The thing we actually associate with fucking clowns. You know?
Yeah,
So
I wouldn't argue that. I can't think of another time.
It's kind of the last one to try and pull off of the 666 storyline too. If you look,
there
at
was certainly a couple of times where they tried for the clown to be funny or edgy, and it failed, like a fucking Hot Topic kid trying to impress an adult woman or something. I don't know what was going on there.
With me, it stays decent. I would put it above First Slaughter as far as on Mark's Camp Blood movies. There were parts I like, but that garage scene just really killed it for me. No pun intended.
I feel you, dude. You know, even with the stomach I have for this stuff, it was out of character for the series. It felt, I mean, there was some sort of disturbing scenes in like Camp Blood 1 where the girl's like laying there in the stream, like convulsing, and those farmers find her. But that was more, it wasn't someone directly making that scene as disturbing as it was. And to be honest, the guts he was pulling out of her in the garage didn't even look that good. It was just mean-spirited, which was not the vibe of these movies prior to that, really. It was all revenge based and very much, you know, that kind of a thing. So it felt like a hard swerve for this one.
Yeah.
But it looks like we've successfully ranked Ghosts of Camp Blood. So now we are on to, honestly, what might be, outside of the Sykes trilogy, my favorite fucking movie in the franchise, man. I got to admit. Did I not put the thumbnail for fucking Children on here? I think I missed the thumbnail for Children, so I might have to upload that real quick as we talk about this one. But we're on to Camp Blood 8, aka Beach Ball Valley Girl Bimbos versus Killer Clowns. Absolutely fucking love this movie, so I'm going to save my, opinions on it for last while you guys talk about it briefly as the trailer runs, and I get this Children thumbnail uploaded.
You go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I probably am going to be the odd man out. I do not hate this film by any means, but I don't love this film either. It kind of ventures away from something that was kind of a cool start to go back to basics again, which could be considered good. But to me, it's the one I watch and I forget I saw it every time. So I can't, it's not one I hate. I don't dislike it. And it's not one I was necessarily bored by, like Camp Blood. I can't say 3. Camp Blood First Slaughter. I can't say that. To me, it just doesn't stick out to me. I can't give it a super high score. I can only give it like it's all right on my end. But again, I understand it. But when I look at these, it's like this is the same movie I've seen a million times before, so it just kind of all runs together. But that's not always a bad thing. It just means that it doesn't stick out as one of my best.
I think with me, all the stuff in this movie that you would think maybe would kind of take me out of this movie, I just really, really like. Like the ghost guy that keeps popping up. Like I
love it.
Like the dude that's from the main guy from Occultist 1 and 2. Like it's just so out of it and just so nuts. And the fact that, like he's I'll go see if I can find the clown. I'll come back, and the clown's not very smart. You can trick him, and then tricks him with like a 1 foot tall inflatable, and just I like that the clown actually has different. Like they have the mask and then the face paint because he's got face paint just like his daddy. The mom thing I know is the comic relief. I didn't care for that part. It's kind of cool they had a mom character, but that part didn't do it for me too much. But I put the Sykes trilogy up there, and then for me it's 6, 6, 6, 7, and 8. And I could probably interchange any of those 3 with 6, 7, and 8 as far as which one I like the most. But I think this one's just so absurd and different from the last several ones. And for some odd reason, it just works for me.
Oh, it works for me too, brother. It's damn near an A+ for me. I almost kind of put it as an A on principle, just because I didn't want to seem like I was that into the beach volleyball bimbos, but I am. So it's an A fucking plus. All right. I'm not going to be dishonest to you folks. I fucking love this thing. It might even be on the right day my favorite Camp Blood movie. And it's precisely because of what Brandon said. I love that they stripped it back to the basics. I love that they didn't try some dumb fucking new gimmick with it. I love that they just went out in the woods with some hot chicks and a dude in a clown suit and shot a fucking movie that was fun to watch, fun to listen to, and made me laugh several times. It also does have some pretty decently splattery blood effects in it and things like that, and I'm good with that as well. I loved the ghost dude. Him and what's her name? Brandy. The mom, the ghost, and Brandy, I just put those names with a star next to them. Like, they're the stars of the movie to me. I loved the sleazy, weird, like, exploitation movie mom shit that the lady was doing in there. Not that I'm into mom stuff, but it was just greasy and gross, but also funny at the same time, the way she was delivering the lines. And that lady is in, I think, Things 4, isn't it? Where they're like the scientists out at that base or whatever.
She's in she's in either Axe Grinder 4 or 5, possibly
as
both
well,
of them.
right?
Yeah.
But Things is where I'll always remember her from. And as soon as I saw her in this, I was like, oh, this was already pretty good up to this point, but I know it's going to be nuts now because that lady goes fucking full send with these movies for sure. She does not give a shit. Like, she's down to play the weirdest characters. It doesn't surprise me because her delivery of the lines in this are pretty great. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandy has a stand-up special or does stand-up as well. Because that girl that plays the dumb blonde in this movie is so fucking hilarious the entire time, especially interacting with that Chinese girl or whatever that's seeing the ghost. It is the best shit, dude. I woke up like half the fucking household laughing at that part where she's like, "Look at me, Mr. Ghost, I'm sexy," or like that fucking. Do you think ghosts like twerking? Of course, ghosts like twerking. It's the best, dude. This might be the dumbest movie in the franchise, but it is simultaneously the funnest in my mind. So A fucking plus all the way. I
think the fact they brought back Haggerty, and just at the end he just shows back up. I'm like, what are y'all doing? I was like, I need a ride. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to town. If you want to just hop in with me, and just kind of.
I imagine, being that dude, you end up needing a ride fairly often.
Right.
Stranded out there yelling at kids.
Yeah.
It's great, dude. In the cast, all of them have good chemistry with each other, which is rare in a movie like this that is so thrown together, But they have that comedic timing, every single member of the cast with each other, that makes the movie funny the entire time. Also, the gratuitously naked, like hanging out and pretending to drive the car scene was like one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. It's just so good, man, but so bad at the same time. I also think it's pretty ironic that in the goofiest of the Camp Blood movies, the clown actually finally sounds scary when he talks. Every other time that he's talked, he sounded kind of derpy or cringe, like straight up cringe. In this one, they finally nailed like the scary clown talk, but the entire movie surrounding the clown is a gigantic fucking joke, which just in some way makes it even better and creepier to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it works in all the parts where it shouldn't, for me anyway.
So do you own the mask from this movie, Cody?
That I do.
So that lady sucked the tongue of that mask.
She has.
You can keep that knowledge with you tonight when you fall asleep. She sucked it good too. I would really like to meet that
she's the only
lady.
one that has?
At least on fucking camera, you know. Oh, Cody, I get where you're going with that. You dirty dog. I love it. We need more of that energy around here. Dude, I'd love to meet that lady. I mean, she seems like she would be a party to hang out with, you know. So that's it. That's what I got on it. A fucking plus.
Yeah, I got
so moving on.
It's a solid, pretty good for me.
Mm. And you gave it a decent, Brandon?
It was just one of those that I just don't have much memory of it. It's one that just I've watched it twice and I still barely remember what I saw each time. I didn't dislike it. I didn't particularly love it. It just was, yeah.
To piggyback on the end of it, I think this movie has the most.
It was a slasher movie.
Go ahead, Cody.
I think this movie has the most credit scenes of any Camp Blood. There's like 8 or 9 of them. Like Sterling's got a credit scene on it, and you got Cool Duder in an actual scene on set.
That's actually in my notes as well. Is Cool Duder is actually funny in this one, or even Cool Duder
where he
is
was
funny
in the cabin, or was it?
Yeah, and he's got like the coonskin cap.
Yeah, that was memorable for me because I do remember that one. So it's
the other one,
definitely
he was like on the phone the whole time. It felt like very much a remote
4 and 5. Which this one was weird. I don't know if you guys remember the credit scenes. There's also one where like the clown's out in the woods and like stumbles upon some chick. And she's like, "Oh, hey, I've heard of you. Would you like to join our cult?" And that makes me wonder if that was more than a throwaway. Were they going to bring the cult back? And
well, dude, they mentioned the cult even like a couple of movies before. Because okay, I have to confess something to you guys right now. I only slept like 3 hours last night. You know, we had a situation go on here that I knew it just had me up. So I watched all of these movies between the time that I got off work last night and this podcast right now. I'm not even joking. I watched every single one of these movies. Like I slept 3 hours and that was in chunks, you know. I've literally been in Camp Blood World for the last fucking however many hours this is. I mean, they're all an hour and 15 minutes. So how many movies is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
13,
11, 12, 13 if we count Camp Blood Kills, which I don't, never will. You know,
looking a good 15, 16 hours.
I have not had a movie marathon like this since I was a wee lad, you know, and it took it out of me, to be honest. I'm surprised I've done as well in this discussion as I have. I'm spent, boys. You know, I went full send with this shit, and I'm glad that I did, because watching them all back to back to back to back to back like that, you really get a feel for like the progression of the series and where it drastically takes like those left turns. Mm-hmm. And man, it was quite the ride. But I don't know. I think it was refreshing to arrive at something like Part 8 that was like you could just check out and laugh at it, you know?
Yeah.
And this was my first time watching it, was for this, and it's far from my last. I'll be watching this thing many, many times. Mm-hmm. So now we get into, you know, the tail end of this marathon before I'd bought my Red Bulls, where my notes get a little less intense, and I'm just kind of giving rankings and a couple of comments. And the first of those is Children of Camp Blood, which I don't hate, but I don't love. You know,
there's a Joe Sherlock cover art.
You know, I can kind of see it. He has a distinctive way of laying things out. But yeah, you know, we did that trailer already. Children of Camp Blood is, I don't know. What do you guys think of this thing? I'll let you go first, because I'm still not even really sure what I think about it. It's certainly a movie done by Polonia that follows in very much the same vibe of the other ones, and I do enjoy it. I just don't know if I love it or hate it, you know?
Right. This one uses, it's still got some of the Polonia peeps. It's got some ones they don't use as often. I really like the mask in this one. There's some people in this one that aren't in a lot of his other movies that I like. I don't like the laugh with the clown during the movie. I think I wanted to like this movie more than I did. I didn't dislike it, but it was just kind of makes sense. It's kind of like almost the Friday the 13th people that fans want, in the thought of just, you know, a bunch of survivors coming together, even though it would have been cool to get survivors from the Camp Blood movies, or at least the Polonia movies. This one kind of just had people that had the backstory of having run-ins with the clown and getting therapy. So, I mean, it was, I think it would have been, I would have liked it a lot more if they would have, Polonia would have used some of his people that were in previous Camp Blood movies as the children of Camp Blood. So it's kind of just middle of the road for me.
Vengeance did it better. Which it was the same basic thing with Friday the 13th, in my opinion. But that movie kicked ass on multiple levels, in my opinion. We need to cover that one day on this channel. Highest Friday the 13th kill count. Unfortunately, it's not official. And plus, as the old man is like, yeah, there are these kids throwing away a perfectly good car.
Which one are you talking about? Sorry, I missed it.
It's a fan film called Vengeance, and it's actually really, you're talking about the slasher count. He takes down an
fuck
entire...
that, dude. Vengeance counts. Those fucking assholes that were in control of the copyright lost their privileges for their movies to be the only thing that counts when they sued each other for like 15 years. Okay, we haven't gotten a Jason movie since when? 2009? Fuck you. The fans own that shit now. There's been much better fan films too in those years since that, like, are better than the 2009 one, in my opinion.
I'm not gonna lie. 8 and this one run together for me, so it's hard for me to tell them apart. It's not because they are similar movies; it's because I've always watched them back to back. And
yeah, there's a distinct lack of beach volleyball bimbos in this.
That's
so
I admit
it suffers for it too. You know,
I don't remember disliking it. I don't remember liking it. Matter of fact, I remember this one less than I remembered 8. And that's saying something. I mean, it follows the formula. It does the slasher thing. So, I mean, there's that. And I think it does it better than First Slaughter. But I can't put it above a decent. Where'd y'all rank it? Sorry, I had to step out for a moment.
No, it's a D+ for me, solidly. Yeah, I have really no notes on it other than that I think the mask is dope. Seeing the Polonia...
We're all kind of in the same place then.
Yeah.
Seeing Polonia crew again was nice. It kind of has a little bit of a, I guess, like a Freddy's Dead Dream Warriors vibe to it, because it's all these kids in like a institution basically. So it's like a micro budget version of doing that, I guess, but without all the crazy superpowers. Yes, and I think that it's neat that it connects. It actually kind of lines up with the shit from the previous. Obviously, that's because Polonia probably shot this with the intention of it being the follow-up to Ghost, right?
Probably.
Like this, really, Ghost is really Camp Blood 8, from what you guys have explained to me, and then this is basically really Camp Blood 9. So the Camp Blood 9 that's about to come out is really Camp Blood 10. Or 11 if you wanted to count 666 Part 2. It's such a fucking confusing Rubik's Cube Chinese finger trap of a fucking sequence. I mean, you guys complain about like movies like Halloween that have taken different branching paths, but they've never fully changed what was a part of the franchise before in that. They've never said like, no, this is just called Season of the Witch now, not Halloween 3.
Right.
That's what they've done with this several times, and it is frustrating because some of these deserve to be the entries that they were. I think Ghosts deserves to be Camp Blood 8. This deserves to be Camp Blood 9, even though they're not my favorites. I give this a D+.
There's only 2 movies in this series, other than Kills, which Kills just it's kind of a clip show, that really, in my opinion, don't belong in the series, and I'm not going to say why, but I think we're all thinking that.
Oh, for part 4 and 5 because they suck so much ass. Is that what you're...
I don't get the thought process between not numbering them. Is it like the fear that once you get past a certain number, people are going to stop watching? I'm like, he knows we're going to buy them. We're going to buy every single one of them. Why can't you just put them in numerical order?
I mean,
spite or indecision. What were you going to say, Brandon?
I mean, back in the day when Ghost of Camp Blood came out, I was actually having more conversations with Sterling than I do now, and it just seemed like this weird out of nowhere thing. It's like, nope, it's not 8 anymore. I'm doing it as just its own thing, and I would just like, what?
Well, okay, here's the deal. I think what happened with the Polonia trilogy, which is what I'm calling, part 7, Ghost and Children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that they were originally intended to be the numerical ones, but after 7, they get decidedly more goofy,
Yeah.
Whereas 8 does take it back, as we said, to that rudimentary root of the whole thing, but does it in a really fun, like college party kind of a way. So I hate to agree with Sterling's weird numbering of it because it is frustrating for us, but I could see at least with 8 making it part 8 because it does follow up the Polonia part 7 nicely. Like if you watch those 2 back to back, I haven't done it, but I would imagine that it's a real fucking fun time, But it is also fun watching them in order, like I did. Watching Ghosts right afterwards was cool. Like watching Children where it was meant to be was cool. It kind of brought you back into the Polonia-verse version of it. The whole lore of Camp Blood is impossible to keep track of. I mean, they switch who's the first original killer so many times, and I don't know what the fuck's going on in this thing by the end. It started out as like a lesbian lady finding her lover with some other dude, and then it turned out there was like some dude named whatever, like it doesn't ever really matter. So it's just needless details that you're trying to keep track of because we're nerds about this stuff and we like to keep it in order. And this fucking series at every turn, defiantly fucking prevents us from doing that. Like everything's out of order and, certain things that are canon are retconned and then brought back. And I mean, there's no way to keep it all sorted out. But at the end of the day, I think that's just a testament to the fact that you don't really fucking need to. They're movies about guys in clown masks that pretty much use the same weapon for fucking 12 movies.
Right.
That's really what's going on here. So I guess it doesn't really matter, but it matters to us. God damn it. It's still real to us. Damn it.
That's right. We'll go down the wrestling road if we have to.
Well, now is the one where my opinion will probably differ way from both of y'all. But we'll see.
Maybe.
I mean,
we'll see.
Yep.
Of course, we're talking about Camp Blood 666 Part 2, the most recent movie that's available, right? We're waiting on Camp Blood 9.
X just came out.
Yeah, but
wait, what?
The animated one?
Yeah, technically, some of us might. Do you have it yet, Cody?
No, I haven't.
Listen, that's warming a bench with Camp Blood Kills on the side of this conversation. Okay,
We'll still all own it though. We're still all
we'll play you 1 game a season, motherfucker. We're talking real movies right now.
But what I will say about Camp Blood 10 though is Mel Heflin's
is that what they're calling it
as a voice?
Yeah,
and John Ward has one of the leads in it. So I mean, if nothing else, it's worth it to check out for that, in my opinion.
Oh,
actually, we're gonna buy it and watch it, dude.
Is Colazzo directing that one too, or
the animated one?
Yeah,
I don't know who did that one.
I'll have to look that up and see who did that one. But I mean, it doesn't matter who directed it. I'll be watching it regardless. But it's still
we'll be owning it regardless, even if it sucks. We're completionists with this type of stuff. So
Peri.
I've never heard of him. That's probably a good thing.
Have not either.
Means there's probably some potential there to do something different with it than just.
He also animated it.
Well, there you go. Animation doesn't look good, bro, but you were working on a budget. I understand.
And did the music for it. So this guy's jack of all trades.
There you go. So what we're really talking about here, though, is Camp Blood 666 Part 2, which is the most recent live action film in the franchise. Then we'll say it
that has been released. Correct.
I liked this one a lot, but it is certainly not a great movie, if that makes sense. It is rough around the edges. It's got some rough performances in it, but it pays huge fan service, I feel like, to the franchise. Like we were talking about earlier, Collazo made a point to get like some of the Polonia regulars in there, some of the people that were in some of the other Camp Blood movies. He got George fucking Stover again, which I'm always going to give points for. I liked this one quite a bit. It had a good wacky sense of humor to it. My mom walked in the room at one point and said, because, by the time I was hitting this, it was like 6 a.m. and she was getting up to go to work. Actually, I think it was like, dude, my sense of time is so fucked up because I just watched 11 Camp Blood movies in a row. So, I think it might have actually been like fucking 8 a.m. and she was home on a break or something. I don't know. But she walked into the room and she was like, I noticed in all your movies, like the people don't ever look, they always look a little rough. And I had to have the conversation with her of like, you realize these aren't like Hollywood actors, right? Like there's not someone that comes and like makes them look perfect before every take. They also work regular jobs, so they look like us because they are like us. And she was fascinated to learn that I'm sure we'll have many of these people on the show at some point, because to her, watching movies, even though she's watched me watch like indie movies for decades, only with this podcast and things like that is she starting to understand that, when she comes over here, she might fucking see like people that we've seen in movies on the show with us,
Yeah.
So it's a weird new world for her, and she's looking at them and she's like, they don't look like the people on Grey's Anatomy. And it's like, well, go to the hospital. The people at the actual hospital don't look like the people on Grey's Anatomy. That's not how real fucking people look, dude,
Right.
So that's an interesting aspect that this brought into my life. But man, yeah, I like this movie. I don't think it's great again, but I don't love it. For me, it is solidly a P.
Okay.
Not plus or minus. It's just pretty dang good, If I was to rank it based on how much I like some of the people in it, I would rank it an A++. I mean, seeing Jamie Morgan, I think, legitimately drunk in this movie was pretty funny. And it is a very sweet scene between her and that lady and the dude they're talking to or whatever. I mean, there's like some really fun interactions in this. This looks next to maybe Ghosts of Camp Blood like it might have been one of the more fun Camp Blood movies to actually make. Might not be one of the better ones to watch, Well, it is one of the better ones to watch, but it might not be the best one to watch, but it is probably right there with, Ghosts of being the one that looks like it was the most fun to be a part of, hanging out, cracking jokes, slamming some brews, fucking, making a goddamn movie, man, killing your friends. It just seems like it's my dream, to be part of that in some fashion. I don't know if I want to do any of that work, but I could be back there like helping rewrite scenes and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks like it was a rad time. So, cheers to Will and everybody that was involved in it. Where would you rank it, Brandon? I mean, and what are your thoughts on it generally?
I can't put it above Ghost of Camp Blood by any means, or Children of Camp Blood. I will say this. I really do have a lot of admiration for a lot of the people involved in it. So much that I almost had looked at that point as like, maybe I'll just step it out and let y'all just give it good reviews, and I'll just say, yeah, that's fine. But
no, fuck that, dude. Fire away.
But I do owe it to like at least say how I feel about the film. But first I like to say a lot of good people involved in it. I mean, Kyle's involved in it. And Cody's involved in it. Tim Hatch is really.
He's in that fucking trailer we just watched, weren't you?
Um,
You furry little fiend, you. I saw
John
you in there.
Ward, John Ward, Forrest Bennett. People that would have
People we
dragged
fuck
me
with.
to watch this movie if knowing that they're in it anyway, because I like most of those people. But and I've done my best to separate myself from certain feelings, which I'm not going to talk about on it.
You don't gotta go into detail, but I mean, it's
But yeah, it's basically I watched this film a second time before this because of it, to try and make sure that my feelings weren't just flash in the pan. But it's the same thing. This film bored me to tears twice now. I had originally put it around even with First Slaughter because I had considered them both like it's better than it has a right to be, but I didn't think it was great. I'm not sure it was one that I would go to again. And
I could see that, dude. That's why it's just a P for me.
I had a hard time coming to it. And looking at it now with the rankings, I would have almost put it a decent, but with Ghost of Camp Blood being decent, I can't put it at the same level of Ghost of Camp Blood. It has to be below that at a level. I would say it's in between Camp Blood 4 and Camp Blood First Slaughter, above Camp Blood 4, because I can't.
Oh, bro, that's harsh.
There. I can't put it. I do think I like First Slaughter better. It's almost the same group of people in both films for some, but there's, minus Cody and Forrest. I think that Cody deserves to be in Polonia's group of people. And maybe,
dude, if you get Pork Chopping Cooter in there, you guys are gonna.
Like I said, I think you deserve to
fan
be
favorites real fucking quick. You already are for us, but.
And same thing with John Ward and some of the others and this, but to me, it's a whole. I cannot give it. I think if, like I said, I just can't put it on the same row as some of the ones that I really like. So I can't really go. So it'd probably be like I'd say maybe a 2.5, kind of in the middle between the D tier and the below for me.
And that's fair enough, man. I mean, there are, let's be real here. There's mad clunkiness in this movie. There's some people that deliver some seriously wooden performances. There is some people that are in there that are vastly underqualified to even be in the movie that Will was shooting at the time. It's very much a friend movie, is what this feels like. But it was done in the right spirit. I think it might be the most party movie of all of the films, if that makes sense. Like, if you were going to crack a bunch of beers and watch a Camp Blood movie, this one and Part 8 would be heavy contenders for me.
Out of the Colazo movies I've watched, it's almost up there, but Amityville Thanksgiving still is my favorite to have seen out of the Colazo films. I've
not seen as much of his stuff. I mean, what was that summer camp one we did that they pretend was made by Polonia, but really it was Colazo?
Camp Murder.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite I've seen of him so far, but.
If I considered Camp Murder a Colazo film,
it's like Poltergeist. They pretend like it was made by Spielberg, but really it was Tobe Hooper.
Yeah, Camp Murder is way better than a good number of these.
Dude, Camp Murder is probably better than 2/3 of these. But
yeah, as far as on these, yeah, definitely though I would put it above Bloody Nun 1 and 2. Though I do need to see Theater. I can't think of the last name of it, but there was one that he did that I know Dave said was really good. So, like I say, I don't think it's a terrible film, but I do feel like it's a boring film, and it just takes me out of it.
So, if you had to go with one single pull of a feel-good Camp Blood movie to yank out of this fucking stack that we've meticulously crafted here for you folks,
what would it be?
Well, what's that?
We should get Cody so we get the final ranking of all of them.
Well, get it, Cody. Get in there, you first son bitch.
Did either one of you guys watch the rough extended cut, or did you guys just watch the regular one?
I just watch whatever they put on the DVD.
Yeah, whatever was
This is
right there on the disc. It was my first time watching it for this,
I
actually.
gotcha.
So,
The rough cut is on there as a special feature. There's also commentary for the rough cut. Rough cut's about 15 minutes longer, maybe a little bit longer than that. I prefer the rough cut. There's more scenes to it. You get the Mel Heflin stuff. It's a lot more psychological stuff with the clown, which I think is cool. I like that this movie has 2 clowns. I think that's neat. I like that this takes place at a campground again.
yeah,
Doesn't happen very often.
it's got some full circle stuff in it. Again, that fan service, baby. Like the 2 clowns. Clearly, someone was watching those early ones. Continue, Cody. I like what you're saying. The way you're rubbing your beard. Do it.
There's a it's definitely not my favorite of the Camp Blood movies. I wouldn't put it in a top ranking at all. There's a lot of stuff about this movie I do like. We all really like 666, so it was cool to see that they made a sequel to one of our favorite movies. You got George Stover back in there, so at least they're connecting some dots. I like a lot of people that are in this movie. You do have some of the Polonia peeps. You do have some people that we all know. I mean, Forrest has been on the channel. John Ward's been on the channel. Like, there's been people that are friends of the channel, friends of ours that are in it, which is cool. There's some cool stuff in this movie. I kind of wish it would have went on maybe a little bit longer and they could have flushed some of that stuff out, or maybe put in some of that stuff instead of. But for me, it's in the pretty good ranking.
Okay, so let's see here. So,
If only barely. Like I said, there's a lot of things about it that I think if it, I'll admit it, dude. There is some bias because it's sort of a friend movie for us, and there's all those familiar faces, like I said, and it does kind of have that haphazard party vibe to it, like I enjoy. Any movie that has some guy reference a liquor license and then go is gonna get fucking points from me. That's just how I'm built. So it eked its way into that pretty good category. If I could see it in further viewings, moving down to like a D+, and again, not a bad thing. A decent fucking B movie is worth 1,000 shite films. Okay. I would watch this a million times before I would watch, those fucking ones that we shall not name and will be excluded from the fucking box in the future. This movie is absolutely fun. It's one that I would pull out to just watch, just for those bits that make me laugh. So we've got our ranking on it, and that moved it down to decent. I'm fine with that. Because again, my pretty good ranking was probably very similar to Cody. It was a flat, like it was just a P. It wasn't a P+. It wasn't, anything above that. That tier up there at the top is a special fucking brotherhood that you can really only get into if you're Brad Sykes, apparently. So, everybody else, if you can get even close to that, that's pretty good. As long as you're not down there in, Camp Blood 4 and 5 territory, you're doing fine. And even if you are down there, take it as a badge of honor. We have shitty taste in movies, man. We literally run a channel that's dedicated to fucking schlock. So, if you can make such a bad movie that we put you in a tier that's less than shite, you should take some pride in that. You made one of the worst movies that's ever been made, that's something that you should be proud of in some sort of, self-deprecating kind of a way. Do better, Dustin. That's all we're saying. We know you can. We've seen you do it with other movies. Meat Hook Massacre 2 is a million times better than both the movies that you made in this series combined. So what the fuck happened? That would be my question to Dustin Ferguson. We've all laid our feelings on the line, and the dude is, at least from what I've been told, well known for getting upset with that kind of stuff. And we just want you to know, Dustin, that we don't hate you. It's not one of those things. We're not coming for your movies. We've all enjoyed your movies. These just suck, but I do think the way that it is.
I do think that of most of his movies, he really doesn't care what people think about those two. I think he does, because I've that's the one of the few that he's actually admitted that he considers them bad movies.
He cares enough to make mad excuses about it, though.
Yeah,
he's probably stop that, bud.
It's bad, but it's not as bad as y'all think it is. Really, listen.
I've phoned in a lot of things in my life, and I'm not too proud to admit it. You know, I think we gave these a fair ranking tonight, did we not, boys? I mean, it's a pretty even spread. You know, again, this series has a better batting average than most. You're not going to see it as even keeled with some of these. There's going to be fan favorites that are down in the shite tier. There's going to, you know. I think with Camp Blood, it's pretty straightforward. We've got those 2 outlier movies that kind of fuck the whole thing up. So just take them out of your box set. That's my advice. Take them out of your box set. Make room for, you know, Camp Blood 666. And what was the other one? There's like 2 that don't fit. Or Camp Blood Kills, I guess.
Shoot, leave a space for Camp Blood 9. It may be good.
Now they need to give us a new fucking box, though, for real.
Oh, it needs a new box. And to tell you the truth, I think that any series needs to be there, warts and all, because the bad, you can see the good for the bad of a series, and it's like I said, everything has a worth to it. I mean, despite it all, I mean, I admit I sort of blanked out some of the movies on the list when I saw them.
Dude, you have no idea. There's a couple of those last ones like Children and 666 Part 2 that I definitely need to watch again.
But once we get to discussing them more in depth, is that raw cut on the Blu-ray release, or is that like a separate thing? So maybe I'll watch that.
You actually click on it special, or is it a thing that just happened?
That's on there, and also Camp Blood Kills is on there. So go figure.
That's weird. Then
I will be getting rid of my Blu-ray of that. It will be in someone's.
Yeah, I definitely recommend if you guys rewatch it, check out the rough cut, and then you could even probably watch the rough cut with commentary just once because you already know the basis of the movie. But there's a lot of people on that commentary, so it's pretty neat. I think
and just for future reference, David, you know what would help you not need to make a clip show to fill up a box set? Leaving the 3rd movie in the fucking franchise, bro. I take way more issue with Within the Woods not being included than I will ever take with the absolute fucking taint fest that is Part 4 and 5. I'll keep those in there on principle if you release Within the Woods as an actual thing. Mend the fences with Brad. Stop being a bitch, you know, and let's get over it. You guys, what? We're all fans here, okay? David Sterling's probably going to listen to this at some point, but not today. What is the reason that movie's not in there? I mean, I know that you guys have heard behind the scenes shit. It's absolutely deplorable that nobody has any kind of a reason that shit's not in there. I mean, just give us a vague hint. Is it money? Is it, you know, what the fuck's going on? Why do we have to get a bootleg to complete our fucking Camp Blood collection? That's what people need to know.
Cody, I don't know what you've heard about it. I mean, to me, Dave is the one who knows most of the scoop, and he's not telling me fully the details. I don't know.
He likes having that privileged information.
But it was, all I know, and you can tell me if you've heard anything different, is that around the time of Children of Camp Blood came out, Sykes and Sterling had such a falling out that Sterling basically exorcised it from the series, and Sterling and Sykes and Sterling kind of exorcised themselves from each other. So Sykes still owns the rights to Within the Woods, and he ain't giving it to Sterling.
I would think that Sterling would have still owned some distribution rights to it if he was smart.
Well, Sterling didn't want to, so that's But that's what I heard. See, that's the thing. That's rumors. For all I know, they could have just like had a poker game, and one of them lost the rights to the other, and like.
Well, here's the deal, Brad and David. The only people you fuck by doing that is us. You don't screw David Sterling. That guy's gonna keep flicking his mullet at conventions and putting out fucking B movies and giving me early access to box sets that he shouldn't have, so I get embarrassed all over fucking social media. That's gonna continue to happen, Brad. That's going to continue to happen, David. So let's just get over the bullshit and give the fans what they need, which is a goddamn complete Camp Bud box set. That's all I wanted. I had to resort to getting a print of it from a friend. I'm not going to name who because I don't want to bring any heat on anyone. But I had to get a fucking bootleg of that shit to like have a complete collection of these movies. And that's stupid. You know, when you make a piece of art together, it'd be like fucking, you know, Jason Newsted trying to sue Metallica for every time they played his bass riffs. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. You know, the people out there still want to hear it. You made plenty doing what you were doing at the time. If he didn't bring it up till Ghosts of Camp Blood, that was several fucking years later. You know, so why should you retroactively fuck all your new fans out of being able to get a complete set of the movies? That to me just seems petty and dumb, and it's not doing either of you any favors. So if either of you guys hear this, maybe, you know, buy him a bottle of Brut Cologne, meet him at a fucking TGI Fridays, have a fucking conversation, you know.
And give us the Things 2 Blu-ray release for that set too, because that's well, it's totally doesn't make sense that you lose the rights.
Oh, that's Brad Sykes too, huh?
Yeah, no, that wasn't Sykes. That was what was that? That one was Dennis Devine, I think. Or was it?
I don't remember.
I don't know, but yeah, Things. I don't understand. He didn't have the rights to 3 for Things 3 for ages. He gains the rights to Things 3,
and then doesn't fucking sell a single copy of it. What are you doing? You know, if you're going to do this shit, then sell your own fucking copies of it so I don't have to get a bootleg off of my fucking friend's basement. What is wrong with you guys? You know, that's always going to be a fucking source of major frustration in this hobby for me, is these movies that aren't available out of pettiness like that. What the fuck are you doing? We dealt with some of that with that fucking Heather and Pugly bullshit. Look how we had to fucking double dip on that thing, you know? I just want to be able to buy the goddamn movie. I don't care what the fuck problem you had with this dude. If you guys both want money, I'll give it to you. That's the end of the story. You know, that's what this is all supposed to be about anyways, is them selling their movies, right?
Cody
so who gives a fuck if like some mullety bastard is like behind the whole thing? Take your money and run, dude.
He knows exactly what it is that's wrong, and he can solve it. He's got all those masters somewhere hidden.
I'm just not even interested in it, to be honest. I ask you so that I can get some clarification, but at the end of the day, it's just so fucking frustrating, dude. That'd be like if like one of the Rocky movies or a random, well, okay, look at the James Bond box sets that don't have that fucking movie that he did outside of the main company that did James Bond or whatever. Or like it would cost him nothing to buy Never Say Never Again from those people. Like in the grand scheme of things, not nothing to us, but to a big film company, they could just buy Never Say Never Again, and we could have a complete James Bond box set. But that's not the way it works, because he did it outside of them, you know, so they're pissed about it because he did it with a guy who owned the rights to the novel of Thunderball. So we're never going to get that fucking movie in a box set unless we cram it in there ourselves, you know, which is exactly what I did. Spot the DVD, plugged it into one of those Blu-ray sleeves, chucked the special features disc because it's the same on each Bond set. Anyways.
Yeah, Rocky 4Ks don't have Rocky 5 because Stallone hates that movie.
What a bitch. So not only are we calling out fucking Brad Sykes and we're not really calling you guys out. We're just asking you to do what you need to for the fans. That's pretty much what it is. So Brad Sykes,
great director.
You know, David Sterling, whoever that fucking guy is that made Things 2, and Sylvester Stallone, you need to fucking settle down and just sell us the movies. That's about it. You guys got anything you want to plug before we go tonight? I know that you know, there's various things going on in your lives. What do you have happening that you'd like to tell the people about before we get out of here? As long as we get out of here before 2 minutes 30, we're good.
Nothing really in the very near future. Keep an eye out for Camp Blood 9. Hopefully should be coming out in January.
I got nothing right now, but you never know. My channel's doing stuff, so hey, that's something.
You got a movie coming up
Eventually. One that is far worse than Camp Blood 666 Part 2.
Shut the fuck up and plug it, dude. What is it called? When it's coming? Give it to him. We can at least tell him what's up.
I've got pretty much all of Amityville webcam done. I'm waiting on a couple of people to send me some stuff to put at the end, and then I'll actually have a final cut done. I just need to, and then I send it to get distribution. So we'll see how that goes. Yep.
Like, you legit know that it's not going to be bad. It's going to be a fun friend movie, just like 666 Part 2 was. It's going to end up in someone's D tier, and I'm totally fine with that. We're not going to be up there with Amityville: The Return or whatever the fuck those early sequels are, but we might be up there with, like, In Space or something.
I
I'm
want
good
to
with that.
I want
Rubbing
to
shoulders with giants,
get me over Camp Blood 5. If I can get over that, then I will be fine.
I don't know that we'll ever be over that, my friend. I don't want to compare it to anything non-PC and get us in trouble, but I think that there's various types of assaults that would maybe be less memorable than sitting through that movie twice like I just did. I'm not exaggerating that to you guys at all, too. Hit my kid up on Facebook. She will confirm. I watched Camp Blood movies for, well, I think Cody did the math right. It was about 15 hours. I've only slept 2 hours in the last 24 hours because I was watching Camp Blood movies and building up to hanging out with you guys. Honestly, surprised I'm even conscious right now.
Well, I do have one thing
it's
to
a
say,
miracle in and of itself.
but off the air.
What's that?
I do have one thing to say, but it's off the air. So,
oh, well, we're going to get off the air real quick so that you can do that. Thanks for watching, guys. We have been the Schlockaholics. As always, you've been a bunch of sexy beasts. This is going to be going on intermittently. We don't really have a schedule for ranked. It's just a thing we're doing. Kind of like Punked. You never know when it's going to fucking happen. So just brace yourselves, motherfucker. We're going to be getting back to our regular Wednesday routine next week, sort of, with a Schlock Talk showcase for Joseph Bogley and his new book. But we do super appreciate everybody that tuned in live. I know there wasn't a lot of you. I'm sure this will get plenty of views on the back end, though. So cheers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here real soon.